Hello, good morning, and welcome to the third lesson in the Jungle Book series of lessons. Now, I'm going to read an extract from chapter 2. I'm going to post a link to that extract in the description. I'd like you to access that link so that you can read along with me while I read this extract. All you need to know before I get going is that this is the point at which Mowgli has admitted that when he was cross with Baloo, he went to play with the Bandar-log, the monkeys, and Baloo and Bagheera told him off because the Bandar-log have no rules and can't be trusted. All the other jungle people ignore the Bandar-log because they try to ignore them. And now Mowgli has just gone to sleep with Baloo and Bagheera as well. Okay. So if you read along with me. Of course, Mowgli, as a woodcutter's child, inherited all sorts of instincts and used to make little huts of fallen branches without thinking how he came to do it. And the monkey people, watching in the trees, considered his play most wonderful. This time, they said, they were really going to have a leader and become the wisest people in the jungle, so wise that everyone else would notice and envy them. Therefore, they followed Baloo and Bagheera and Mowgli through the jungle very quietly, till it was time for the midday nap. And Mowgli, who was very much ashamed of himself, slept between the panther and the bear, resolving to have no more to do with the monkey people. The next thing he remembered was feeling hands on his legs and arms, hard, strong little hands, and then a swash of branches in his face, and then he was staring down through the swaying boughs as Baloo woke the jungle with his deep cries, and Bagheera bounded up the trunk with every tooth bared. The Bandar-log howled with triumph and scuffled away to the upper branches, where Bagheera dared not follow, shouting, "He has noticed us! Bagheera has noticed us!" All the jungle people admire us for our skill and our cunning. Then they began their flight, and the flight of the monkey people through treeland is one of the things nobody can describe. They have their regular roads and crossroads, up hills and down hills, all laid out from 50 to 70 or 100 feet above the ground, and by these they can travel even at night if necessary. Two of the strongest monkeys caught Mowgli under the arms and swung off with him through the treetops, 20 feet at a bound. Had they been alone, they could have gone twice as fast, but the boy's weight held them back. Sick and giddy as Mowgli was, he could not help enjoying the wild rush, though the glimpses of earth far down below frightened him, and the terrible check and jerk at the end of the swing over nothing but empty air brought his heart between his teeth. His escort would rush him up a tree till he felt the thinnest topmost branches crackle and bend under them, and then with a cough and a whoop would fling themselves into the air outward and downward and bring up, hanging by their hands or their feet, to the lower limbs of the next tree. Sometimes he could see for miles and miles across the still green jungle, as a man on the top of a mast can see for miles across the sea. And then the branches and leaves would lash him across the face, and he and his two guards would be almost down to earth again. So, bounding and crashing and whooping and yelling, the whole tribe of Bandar-log swept along the tree roads with Mowgli, their prisoner. For a time, he was afraid of being dropped. Then he grew angry, but knew better than to struggle. And then he began to think. The first thing was to send back word to Baloo and Bagheera, for, at the pace the monkeys were going, he knew his friends would be left far behind. It was useless to look down, for he could only see the top sides of the branches, so he stared upwards and saw, far away in the blue, Chil the kite, balancing and wheeling as he kept watch over the jungle, waiting for things to die. Chil saw that the monkeys were carrying something, and dropped a few hundred yards to find out whether their load was good to eat. He whistled with surprise when he saw Mowgli being dragged up to a treetop and heard him give the kite call for, "We are of one blood, thou and I." The waves of the branches closed over the boy, but Chil balanced away to the next tree in time to see the little brown face come up again. "Mark my trail," Mowgli shouted. "Tell Baloo of the Seoni pack and Bagheera of the Council Rock." "In whose name, brother?" Chil had never seen Mowgli before, though of course he had heard of him. "Mowgli the Frog. Man cub they call me." "Mark my trail." The last words were shrieked as he was being swung through the air, but Chill nodded and rose up till he looked no bigger than a speck of dust, and there he hung, watching with his telescope eyes the swaying of the treetops as Mowgli's escort whirled along. "They never go far," he said with a chuckle. "They never do what they set out to do, always pecking at new things of the Bandar-log. This time, if I have any eyesight, they have pecked down trouble for themselves, for Baloo is no fledgling, and Bagheera can, as I know, kill more than goats." So he rocked on his wings, his feet gathered up under him, and waited. Meantime, Baloo and Bagheera were furious with rage and grief. Bagheera climbed as he had never climbed before, but the thin branches broke beneath his weight, and he slipped down, his claws full of bark. "Why didst thou not warn the man-cub?" he roared to poor Baloo, who had set off at a clumsy trot in the hope of overtaking the monkeys. "What was the use of half slaying him with blows if thou didst not warn him?" "Haste, oh haste, we may catch them yet," Baloo panted. "At that speed it would not tire a wounded cow. Teacher of the law, cub beater, a mile of that rolling to and fro would burst thee open. Sit still and think. Make a plan. This is no time for chasing. They may drop him if we follow too close." "Aroo! They may have dropped him already, being tired of carrying him. Who can trust the Bandar-log? Put dead bats on my head, give me black bones to eat, roll me into the hives of the wild bees that I may be stung to death, and bury me with the hyena, for I am the most miserable of bears. Aroo-la-la-wahoo! Oh, Mowgli, Mowgli, why did I not warn thee against the monkey folk instead of breaking thy head? Now perhaps I may have knocked the day's lesson out of his mind, and he will be alone in the jungle without the master words." Baloo clasped his paws over his ears and rolled to and fro, moaning. "At least he gave me all the words correctly a little time ago," said Bagheera impatiently. "Baloo, thou hast neither memory nor respect. What would the jungle think if I, the Black Panther, curled myself up like Ikki the Porcupine and howled?" "What do I care what the jungle thinks? He may be dead by now." "Unless and until they drop him from the branches in sport, or kill him out of idleness, I have no fear for the man-cub. He is wise and well taught, and above all, he has the eyes that make the jungle people afraid. But, and it is a great evil, he is in the power of the Bandar-log, and they, because they live in trees, have no fear of any of our people." Bagheera licked one forepaw thoughtfully. "Fool that I am! Oh, fat, brown, root-digging fool that I am!" said Baloo, uncurling himself with a jerk. "Is it true what Hathi the wild elephant says, to each his own fear? And they, the Bandar-log, fear Kaa, the rock snake. He can climb as well as they can. He steals the young monkeys in the night. The whisper of his name makes their wicked tails cold. Let us go to Kaa." "What will he do for us? He is not of our tribe, being footless, and with most evil eyes," said Bagheera. "He is very old and very cunning. Above all, he is always hungry," said Baloo hopefully. "Promise him many goats." "He sleeps for a full month after he has once eaten. He may be asleep now, and even were he awake, what if he would rather kill his own goats?" Bagheera, who did not know much about Kaa, was naturally suspicious. "Then in that case, thou and I, together, old hunter, might make him see reason." Here Baloo rubbed his faded brown shoulder against the panther, and they went off to look for Kaa the rock python. Okay, so hopefully I have flashed up the tasks that you're supposed to be doing as I was reading that. I'll go through them again for you now, and I'll put them in the description as well. So your tasks are: number 1, why did the Bandar-log kidnap Mowgli? Number 2, how does Mowgli alert Baloo and Bagheera to his plight, to the terrible situation that he is in? Thirdly, how do Bagheera and Baloo react, and why are they so concerned? And fourthly, what makes them decide to approach Kaa the rock python for help? Okay, so enjoy, and I will see you next time for lesson 4. Thanks very much for watching.